Hello, thanks for coming. I'm Eric Teaton, runner for the U.S. Senate in Ohio. I'd like to talk to you about the stimulus plan. Now, a lot of us weren't too happy with the stimulus plan passed. $787 billion, over $750 billion. It was all going to be borrowed money because we didn't have the money in the public treasury to pay it. On the heels of a $600 billion Tarp buyout that's grown since then, totaling almost $1.5 trillion. Now, this money was ceded to the executive branch by our legislators in the House and Senate. Now, I don't understand why these guys would have taken away their power to influence where that money went. They pretty much gave a blank check to the executive branch. And President Obama now has this stack of money bigger than any man's ever had to spend as he sees fit. That's why he hired a heading on 40 czars to help him figure out how to spend the money. So about a third of the money's gone now. This is late April. And we don't have much to show for it other than a lot of projects out there that were going to happen anyway. I've seen some roads paved, a few projects here and there, and a bridge. You know, they were going to do that anyway, but those people went ahead and applied for the money, knowing that if they got approved, that the money that we're going to spend on it and already allocated, they could go spend on something else. We got about $500 billion, $500 billion sitting there, and our president gets to decide how to spend it. And I think he's planning to use it strategically to try to buy himself another election. He already gave a pretty significant raise to the federal workers, millions of them, buying a lot of favors with them, currying their votes for the future run, realizing that the rest of the economy, the rest of the workers out here didn't get paid raises last year, bad economy. In fact, a lot of us took pay cuts, had overtime cut, shifts cut, hours cut. It just has been tough for a lot of American families. But our president just, in the face of that, throws money at the federal workers because he knows that it'll buy him votes. The stimulus plan wasn't about creating jobs. It's about spending borrowed money to create temporary jobs, to try to stimulate the economy. The fact is, you stimulate the economy by creating jobs, growth, and economic activity that's real, that doesn't diminish later when we have to pay off the debts and the jobs go away because they were from the public trust. They should have been investing in companies with payback strings attached, so that those companies would have to pay some of that money back to the government when it became successful. Any money taken out of the public treasury to help a private entity should have strings attached, so that that company has to either pay it back or provide the benefits of the research and the growth and economic activity to the public in general. If it's not worthwhile to all of us, then we shouldn't have to be paying for it. And in general, when an activity is worthwhile for private enterprise, they'll do it on their own, and the government doesn't have to spur along. Our national debt was already very big, and I was trying to track it as I ran my campaign starting in June, and the debt went up a couple tenths of $1 trillion, it seemed, every month. It was just out of hand. We're now hovering just under $13 trillion with cash debt. This is like credit card debt right now that we pay interest on every year. Last year we had like $500 billion of interest we paid on debt. Nothing to show for it. It was the number 4 budget item that we had. Now, if you take into account that Social Security and Medicaid are actually off the books, separate programs with separate payroll taxes to pay for them, then our big budget items were really national defense and debt payments. Now, I hate the number 2 cost for a country that's over 200 years old being interest on a debt. We're a country that created so many new products, so much innovation, and so much growth that the rest of the world would benefit from it. We could have over $100 trillion loaned out to the rest of the world and collecting interest. In fact, we could theoretically be collecting enough interest now to be running our federal government. Instead, we have over $100 trillion of unfunded liabilities, such as Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation, Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, Social Security, Medicaid, the Tarp. The list is just endless. There's money hanging out there all over the place that we may end up paying. A lot of it owed back to us citizens who have paid into these programs and may never see a penny of them. But the cash debt is astonishing. It's over $40,000 now for every man, woman, and child in the country, including illegal immigrants. It's simple math. You take 13 trillion divided by about 308 million people, you get over $40,000. That's a lot of money. Now, I have 3 kids and I love them to death, but That's $120,000 of debt I have on my head, plus my wife and myself. So there's $200,000 that our government's paying interest on. And someday that's going to come home to roost in my wall. But the unfunded debt, well, that's a whole other ballgame. It's, you know, some people say it's only 60 trillion. I guess you pick whichever you want, 60 trillion or 100 trillion. But even at 60, it's 5 times more than our cash debt. So that's $200,000 of debt hanging over our head. Plus your 40,000 times 5 for my family, and well, that's over $1 million. And that's just a bit much for such a country that provided so much to the world, that finished 2 world wars that we didn't start, that ended fascism and tyranny and communism across the globe. I expect great things out of my country in the future, but we need to get control of our debt, be fiscally responsible, stop asking what the government can do for us, but start upholding our responsibilities and doing what we're supposed to be doing for our country and our nation. Everybody keep your pressure on the President and Congress to stop wasting this money in earmarks and corporate spending. Keep writing to the Oval Office to tell Mr. Obama that his plan and the third of the stimulus that has been spent has not stimulated the economy, created lasting jobs. Tell him that he's got 2/3 of the money left and he needs to reformulate that plan so it's not wasted. We can't afford to do another stimulus. The next time we have a national crisis and need the money, the countries that gave it to us are simply going to say, we'll loan it directly. They won't bail out our banks for us, they'll buy our banks. And when we default on our home loans and lose our homes to the banks, guess who will own them? The Chinese, the Japanese, the Russians. They're going to buy our country out from us, one business, one corporation, one home, and one bank at a time. So our government better get things in order, start paying off our debts, start spending within our budget means, start running a budget in the black for once so that we actually pay that debt down and see the numbers start to diminish. I think we can do it, but we better pull together now, and we better do it before it's too late, because that window of opportunity is fastly closing on us. Thank you for your time.